Welcome in everyone to this week's episode of Crazes Corner. Today we're going to be discussing some of our favorite ADPs currently in redraft leagues. So you want to make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to do an episode on ADPs now, and we're going to do one closer to the season and see how these guys' positions change, and talk about some guys today we like, and we'll talk about some guys later on in the offseason that we like then. But first, we're going to get into a couple news stories. First news stories, unfortunately, former Vikings and Cardinals cornerback Jeff Gladney passed away at the age of 25 in a car accident. It's just an extremely tragic event that happened. Another death, NFL-related, also former Cowboys running back Marion Barber was found dead, and he was only 38 years old. Second story, David Njoku signed a 4-year, $56 million extension in Cleveland. This comes after the team cut Austin Hooper. So now this makes way for Njoku to be one of the top weapons for Deshaun Watson on this new and renovated Cleveland Browns offense. I was excited to see what he can do. I kind of liked him coming out of college. And now he will get this opportunity with a great quarterback to show what he can do in the NFL, and he got paid like a top tight end. So we're going to have to see how this works out for the Browns. And finally, Aaron Donald has been in the news lately. He just signed with Donda Sports. And has been talking about how he's at peace. He was planning on playing 8 years when he got into the NFL. He's played his 8 years, but winning the Super Bowl makes him want to run it back. But he said he is at peace if he cannot get a contract worked out with the Rams, so we'll have to continue to monitor this situation. McVay came out today and said that he thinks that things are progressing well, and he seemed very optimistic that Aaron Donald will be back. I think he will be too. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think Aaron Donald will come back to the Los Angeles Rams and try and run it back for another Super Bowl? Or do you think he will retire? Let us know using the Media app. The Media app is a virtual press conferencing app that allows you to host your own virtual press conference. They're working currently on a new version of the app. It's going to be all updated with virtual backgrounds. It's extremely good, and I definitely recommend you check it out so that you can be one of the first people to get on the beta when it drops. So check it out on the Google Play and the App Store. And now let's welcome in our guests. We have Zach, Will, and Jeff. Welcome in, guys.
What's happening? What's happening?
Yo, wow, that was incredible timing.
What? Did you? Jeff shows up just as we come out of the break. Perfect timing on Jeff's behalf. What do you guys think of Aaron Donald? Do you guys think he's going to resign with the Rams, or do you think he's going to retire?
Oh, he's going to play.
Yep. Yeah, they got to be favorites for the NFC, so why not try to run it back?
Yeah, exactly.
You figure he probably signs like a 5-year deal, and it's really a 2-year deal. So
that's Kanye's. Yeah. That's Kanye's Sports.
Yeah. Donda Sports. They signed him and Jaylen Brown.
I love it. I'm even more for it now.
Yeah, I think I was surprised when I heard that. I was like, this guy wants to play maybe one more year, so he's decided to get a whole new agency and everything. But you know, got to support Kanye, right? So, but let's get right into our ADP show. I know Jeff does have to leave a little bit earlier, so we're going to let Jeff start it off tonight. Jeff, who is one player that you're currently loving their ADP in redraft leagues?
Well, since I'm already on the road, I guess I've already left kind of early. But the guy that I'm looking at, man, especially after a couple of drafts, I can't believe that Cam Akers is fallen so far.
Yeah.
He is going around like the 18th running back taken, 40th, sometimes 50th player overall. And people I think are overlooking the fact that McVay really likes his kid. Even when he fumbled during the playoffs, things like that, McVay still went out of his way to feed him the rock. So I think he's going to be highly productive in a highly productive offense. I think people are really, really overlooking this guy, man. So I'm hoping he falls to me in quite a few leagues. And I will probably take him a little bit earlier than most people would. So that's my guy there, man, Cam Akers.
Will, what do you think about Cam Akers? Because I know Zach will have some opinions based on his rankings I saw earlier. Will, what do you think?
I had Cam ranked high when we were ranking the
Mm-hmm.
position by position. So yeah, I'm with Jeff. I don't think the Rams running back position is as cloudy as people want to make it. It's like people are unsure, and I get it. I get it. We all get burned by running back by committee. I just don't think it's that. I think if he stays healthy, he starts every game he's healthy. And in that offense, yeah, I'm going with Cam Akers.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm a little worried. He did make that incredible recovery last season to come back and play in the playoffs. But he was absolutely terrible in the playoffs. McVay did continue to feed him. But if he comes out week 1, week 2, week 3, and he doesn't look much better than he did in the playoffs, McVay will look another direction. As much as he loves Cam Akers, he's not going to throw Cam Akers out and absolutely ruin their entire season based on that. And he also likes Darrell Henderson, and they just drafted Williams in the draft. So I am a little hesitant. Zach, what do you think about Cam Akers? I saw you had him ranked at 23. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's more so of like, I mean, this is also take consideration. This is June, and like I want to put some nuance to this. Like, just because I have him at 23 doesn't mean that I also can't believe what Jeff's saying is like, if you're the guy that's going to take the chance on him, like that's how you get a league winner. So like to separate him where I have him ranked amongst his peers is kind of different from where like taking advantage of ADP is really how you win fantasy leagues. So from that perspective, I totally agree. But I just found it tough to put it really was a matter of like when I make rankings, it's like I just keep bumping guys down, and it just kind of happened to be that's where he landed. But yeah, it's the Rams running back has always kind of been fantasy friendly to a degree. So and Sony Michel at a certain point was fantasy relevant. So Cam Akers definitely higher draft pedigree. So
Yeah, there's definitely the opportunity there. But the risks, I think, are currently built into his ADP, so that's definitely something that, as you said, with the risk being built into his ADP already, I definitely think he's a guy that will be targeting sometimes in my league. And I'm going to go next. I got a couple quarterbacks here, couldn't decide between the two of them. So I'm going to talk about both of them. Pretty much the same argument to be made for both of them. Talk about the QB12 and the QB10 in sleeper drafts right now. You can get them in the 8th and 9th round, and that's going to be Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady finished as QB3 last year, and he's currently going as a QB12. Last year, he was when we did this sleeper, show. I brought up Tom Brady. He was being drafted in the 10th round, finished as a QB3. I think there's no reason Tom Brady won't do just as good again this season. People are worried about the age. I'm not super worried about the age. Tom Brady has proven enough people wrong. Over time, he's got the weapons there, bringing back Chris Godwin when he gets healthy, bringing in Russell Gage. Gronk will be back. It's just a matter of time. Not super concerned about that. And Fournette out of the backfield with White as well, who they just drafted. I'm not super worried there, and Mike Evans is there. And then Aaron Rodgers, people are worried about the age and about the fact that he has no wide receivers. But I think Aaron Rodgers will do fine without those wide receivers. Aaron Jones is going to be there, and I think that Christian Watson will have a chance to prove himself. You bring back, he will hit anyone on the deep throw. It doesn't matter. You look at MVS. MVS was wide open all these times, and he just couldn't catch the ball. So even if you get a guy, they don't have to be good as long as they're fast, and the Packers have a couple fast guys on the outside with Lazard taking over some of that red zone work. When Tanyan comes back as well, I think the touchdowns will be there. So those are my two quarterback sleepers right now. They don't have that rushing upside that a lot of the younger guys do, but I do like both of those. What do you guys think about either Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers? Do you think they should be, in that later QB1 range or in the 8th or 9th round, or do you think they'll finish closer to how they finished this season?
Ew. Hold on. If I scream, it's because I'm about to pay over $6 for gas. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Go ahead.
You just feel with Brady and more Brady than Rodgers. For me, Brady is like at some point this has to fall off, right? Mm-hmm. At some point he's going to get hurt. Right. At some point it's just not, and so it's hard for me to take him before late in the draft. Mm-hmm. I just that concerned. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I just don't know if the Packers have enough around him. I know we all keep thinking, and he is, right? He demonstrates it that he can take the average guy and make him look good. But I don't know about the Packers this year, man. It just seems like a team that's very much struggling to find an identity. And I think they might be the most interesting team in the NFL this year, both in real season and in fantasy. Because if they can't figure out the wide receiver thing, the whole team is in trouble.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Zach, what do you think about these two quarterbacks here?
Just in uncharted territories when you're discussing projecting what a 45-year-old quarterback is going to do for fantasy football. So, I don't know. I don't know. Like, just how can you say so? Like, when you say that in a sentence, a 45-year-old quarterback could potentially again finish as a top 3 quarterback. It's just kind of craziness. So, but I love the picks. If that's I don't see their ADP staying there. I say as we get closer to the season. If that's true, if you can get Tom Brady in the 10th round, is that what you said? Like you can get ADP around 10?
Yeah, 9th, 10th round, yeah.
I mean, that's the same thing as basically what last year. And Tom Brady won a bunch of people Super Bowl fantasy, so
yeah,
love it.
I was actually going to put Aaron Rodgers down myself.
There you go.
They always find a way to find a wide receiver that ends up becoming a top receiver in the league. Devontae Adams, his first couple of years in the league, he had a couple of issues with drops. He ends up becoming probably the best wide receiver, or one of the top, at least top 5 after 3 years. I think they've got some guys there that can still step up. You know, I think Lazard might surprise some people. I think Watson, there's got to be something there. And I think they're with a quarterback in Rodgers that still has some juice. And I think that he can still probably make this wide receiver core more than a serviceable group of receivers, but make them, I wouldn't say one of the top wide receiver cores, but I think he's going to bring them along where they're going to be higher than just, your average group. So I trust Aaron Rodgers. So I just go with that, man.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And as Zach said, predicting a 45-year-old quarterback, no one really knows. But in the 9th or 10th round, it really is, low risk and extremely high reward. As you said, finished QB3 last season. If he comes anywhere near close to that, that's a huge return on investment in those kind of later rounds. But Zach, let's move on to your next pick. Who are you going to talk about first here?
Talk about Philadelphia Eagle quarterback Jalen Hurts, who, I'm sorry, do you have the ADP pulled up in front of you from what I said?
You sent me. He's currently going 76th overall.
So that was on RotoWire's website. Yeah. I did the same thing. So if that's the case, I don't know. I think that's just great. That's probably the point where I'm willing to take a quarterback with that kind of upside after like 6 positional picks. Like if you're talking, if we're in a 10-teamer maybe, and like that's your 7th round pick with his like crazy rushing upside, like a Lamar Jackson light, to get that in the 7th round, and you could.
Zach, we lost audio.
I thought my internet was cutting out.
No.
I was like, damn, even at home, my internet doesn't like the show. But no, it's not me this time. Let's go. But go back off what Zach said while he gets you're muted now. But to back off what Zach said, Jalen Hurts, even in sleeper. No.
Whoa, Zach. Is that me?
No, I think that's Zach.
Zach, you scratching?
Yeah, literally.
Zach's a DJ part-time.
Yeah.
All right, let's but continue on with Jalen Hurts while Zach tries to figure out what's going wrong with the mic. Jalen Hurts currently going around that area, so 7th, 8th round. And as you said, you bring in A.J. Brown. I think that's a huge addition for Jalen Hurts, having Devontae Smith there already. And I think Jalen Hurts still has to prove to the Eagles that he's going to be their guy for the future. So he's got to ball out this year. So I like the pick personally. If Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady weren't going behind him, I think I'd probably see him on more by mock draft teams. But I don't.
Hey. He's back. I think. Oh.
No, it's acting weird, Zach. I'm going to mute it just for a second.
That was my walking music.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, look, Jalen Hurts, you got to think his running. What's the value of him running? Has to be, 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
Last year he had 10 on the ground.
So minimum, let's just say we'll give him 5.
Yeah, minimum 5.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? That's worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To me.
Yeah.
Last
year in 15 games he had 784 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. So you bring in, almost 800 yards and 10 touchdowns for a quarterback. That's going to put you next level. Give you that ceiling. I don't know. I personally like the pick there. It was just,
Honestly, I'd take him over Dak Prescott. I'll be honest with you. I have more faith in Jalen Hurts. And they're close. Prescott and Hurts are close in the ADP and
they are. Yep.
But we'll see.
Yeah, that we will. Will, do you want to introduce your next player?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Dalvin Cook, and I'm a homer on this one. But watching what the Vikings have been doing with him in minicamp, look, he's gonna get the ball. He's gonna get the ball a lot, and he's gonna get the lot in receptions, which he really has never had before.
Yep.
And so when I look at, he's going 8 according to RotoWire. I think he could be going 5th in the draft, 4th. I know there's a health issue, but I tell you, the news coming out of Minnesota the last week, they got him lined up in the slot. They got him lined up at wide receiver. He's going to get a lot of touches in the air, and that's really going to increase his fantasy points in a point per reception, or even a half point.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Zach. You're back.
Yeah, you're back, Zach.
I'm back.
All right, let's just quickly, last closing, finisher, Jalen Hurts.
Yep, he's great. Love him.
Yeah. We pretty much all agreed with you, and Will went as far as saying Dak Prescott is a worse pick than Jalen Hurts, and he'd rather have Jalen Hurts this season.
I'd rather have Jalen Hurts this season. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I honestly agree with that for this season, too. But Will was just talking about Dalvin Cook. What do you think about Cook, Zach?
Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying, Zach, that in minicamp this week, they've been lining him up in the slot, and he's been getting a lot of pass receptions, what he really has not gotten in his career. So if they're going to use him as a receiver in that position, then his fantasy points are going to go up. His ADP right now is 8-9, depending on where you look. So I think he should be going 5 or 6, and he could go higher if he stays healthy. I mean, he could challenge. I think he could challenge for fantasy point #1 running back by the end of the year.
Yeah, he certainly has the upside for sure. I mean, I think I have him around like 8, and that feels kind of low in my opinion, just based on what he can do. But I think Alexander Madison is going to become more of a factor. I don't know. The wheels got to fall off eventually. Not in a sense where he's going to crash and be like an RB3, but maybe he just kind of hovers around that top 10 spot, which is kind of what happens to running back around that age, especially with his kind of not injury history. And I don't even like using that as an argument, but at a certain point when it happened, he hasn't finished a full season ever since being in the NFL. So it's tough to project a full season of stats. But at the same time, he could definitely finish top 3. So he has that upside.
I think to me, Will said he thinks he could compete for that #1 running back. I personally don't, because I can't see a way he plays 17 games.
Right.
Could he challenge for number one in points per game? He definitely could in PPR formats if they use him like that. And as Zach said, I think Madison will be more involved. But if they do actually line Cook out in the slot more often than they have before, I think they'll both be on the field at the same time. So I'm not necessarily sure that negatively affects Cook. But I think it will definitely lead to Madison being more involved in the offense there. So he'd definitely be a guy, if you draft Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison better be on your roster. Doesn't matter, you take him around before his ADP. It will not matter when you get Alexander Madison for 4 to 6 games and he's an RB1. That's worth wherever you're going to draft him. So that's my advice if you end up with Dalvin Cook. I'd probably be comfortable taking him in between around 5, too. I think 5 is probably where I'd feel comfortable taking Dalvin Cook. Jeff, any thoughts on Dalvin Cook this year?
He's one of those guys where if he produces and stays healthy, he can win you a championship. He ends up getting hurt, you're probably out of the playoffs early. That's what I think about Dalvin Cook. That's why I usually stay away from him. But that's just that's probably the best advice that you can give in fantasy football is if you draft Dalvin Cook, make sure you handcuff Alexander Madison. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
Like the one mainstay. That's like a rule. That should be a written rule.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And it's not even like some teams where you can't really draft a handcuff because it'll be a committee once he goes down. Dalvin Cook goes down, and it's Alexander Madison's team.
Exactly.
So definitely you have to do that. Jeff, you want to introduce your next player?
Well, we were talking about quarterbacks earlier. I think one guy that a lot of people are going to continue to pass over, his ADP is pretty low. I can't remember exactly what it is, Zach. You probably have it.
I have it. He's currently 78th overall from the ADP you sent me. Sleeper has him currently going 170.
Wow. And that's what I love. If you need a reliable quarterback, Matt Ryan is going to be that guy with a offensive-minded head coach and ex-quarterback. Now he's got receivers, and he's got a strong offense around him. He's going to thrive with the Colts. So I will wait and grab him once everybody goes and picks up, all of the hot names. I'm going to take a reliable guy. He might be a starter. He might be a QB too. But Matt Ryan, my guy, he's very, very low in that ADP.
Yeah, I think to me, I see Matt Ryan as a mid-tier RB2. I'm not super excited about his fantasy value. I think he'll be amazing for Michael Pittman Jr.'s fantasy value and possibly one of the tight ends there in Indy, whether it's Cox or Woods. But to me, last season, he didn't have the best weapons around him. But he was extremely inconsistent when it came to put up fantasy points. And even if you look at 2 seasons ago, he wasn't consistent in that year where he finished as the QB 12. But you look at his game log, and there's weeks he's putting up 5, 6, 7 points. And that's not a guy I want to rely on when it comes to this. He's now 2 years older than he was then. You put him on a team that has Michael Pittman Jr. and these tight ends with a great running game. I think that's definitely a good place for him. I'm just not 100% sure that will translate to being able to feel comfortable starting him, except for possibly streaming him when he plays Jacksonville and Houston. But other than that, I don't think there would ever be games where I'd be starting Matt Ryan. But Zach and Will, what do you guys think of Matt Ryan?
Say what you want about him. Supported a rookie record season for Kyle Pitts last year, and Cordell Patterson, we all know he's a darling.
Terrible player.
So, now you just kind of copy and paste that season into Indianapolis with probably a better cast of characters around him. So, I could see Matt Ryan creeping up into that top 15 on like a few spike weeks, throughout the season. We could be at like a snapshot like week 8, and we're like, whoa, look at Matt Ryan. He's quarterback, 14 right now or something. I don't know. But yeah, to your point though, on the opposite side, obviously he's trending down as far as his career, and really I think more of a benefit with him being in Indianapolis, like you said, is Michael Pittman. And so it kind of goes hand in hand. If you expect Michael Pittman Jr. to take a step forward, and the guy throwing him the ball has to be somewhat relevant.
Yeah.
I do have one excuse for Matt Ryan for the last 2 years. Bad offensive coordinators.
Oh, yeah.
Look at what he did back when Shanahan was there. So that's what I'm looking at. Yes, his age is creeping up, but the last couple of years, Arthur Smith, as I always say, I never have really looked at that guy as a top offensive mind. Because basically, I got Derrick Henry, I'm going to shove it down your throat. Okay, Tannehill, now go ahead and throw the ball. So that's basically what was going on last year with no running game. Hence Cordero Patterson. So this year, with an offensive mind, I think he can actually surprise just like Phillip Rivers did coming into that offense. So we'll see.
Yeah, but he can play probably better than Phillip Rivers played, but Phillip Rivers wasn't fantasy relevant. Even though the Colts were a playoff team when he played for quarterback for them. And I think Matt Ryan probably makes them my favorite to win the division. I just can't see how that translates to consistent fantasy. Unless, as I said, when he plays Jacksonville and when he plays Houston, he will be in my starting lineups because he'll be on the waiver wires, and I will put him in, and he will go off against those two teams. Will, any thoughts here?
Nah, my mom taught me if you can't say something nice, don't say that at all.
There you go. Well, with that being said, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about my next guy. I'm going to be talking about the guy who's currently going as the running back 39 in sleeper leagues. And his ADP is slowly on the rise because he did just re-sign with the Denver Broncos. But I'm going to be talking about Melvin Gordon. Currently, as I said, he is the RB 39 coming off the board, 111 overall. Last year, he finished as an RB 2. You expect his usage to drop a little bit as the emergence of Javonte Williams continues. But his usage dropping a little bit, he'll be on the field probably just under 50% of the time. Last year, he was on the field just over 50% of the time. So maybe he drops down to a low-end RB2, maybe a high-end RB3. But you're definitely getting that value currently at his current draft position of RB 39. I think Russ brings another element to that offense. There could be more touchdowns coming Gordon's way. We'll see which one they use at the goal line. Or maybe they'll use both at the goal line, depending on the situation. Who knows? But I think the touchdown upside will be there for a guy who you won't be starting. I don't think he will be that RB2 that you're going to feel comfortable rolling out there every week. But when it comes to buys and injuries, I think he's going to be a crucial guy to have as a depth piece on your team. And paying RB 39, getting him in the 11th round, 10th round even, I think that's great value for a guy who finished as an RB2 last season, splitting with Javonte Williams. On now what is a better offense. Zach, what do you think of Melvin Gordon currently this season?
Yeah, I remember one of the few really good solid hits we had last year was our take on Javonte and Melvin Gordon when Melvin Gordon came back from injury, and everyone expected it's Javonte's season, and for some reason that's kind of stayed the narrative with Javonte Williams, which I think I've said before. I really don't understand. There's people that have him top 10 running back, which is just it's all you have to do is look at Melvin Gordon's game log from last year and just realize that he was startable more times than I think Javonte was.
Yep.
And I just don't know why that would change. Didn't he sign a 1 year with the team?
I think so. Yep.
So they're just going to beat him into the ground. So it's just they're going to get him involved. So yeah, I like it. I think Melvin Gordon's going to be way more involved than the fantasy community would like to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, I said when this signing was happening, I think this was a great signing for the team. Sure, it hurts Javonte Williams' fantasy value this season, but it's the best move for the Denver Broncos. And I think, Javonte going into his second year, I think he will be utilized a little bit more, kind of on par with how he was utilized near the end of the season. But Melvin Gordon was still valuable during the end of the season stretch, so I'm not worried too much about that. And like I said, I think he's going to be a great depth piece. Will, what do you think about Melvin Gordon here?
I don't know if I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I think having Wilson there as quarterback changes a lot of the dynamics. I don't know. To be completely honest with you, I'm kind of staying away from Denver's running backs because I think I think they're going to skew more to passing.
But at RB39, would you draft Melvin Gordon there? Because there really is no risk, and if he returns even as an RB3 at 39, you're getting a return on your value. So
yeah, I don't.
39.
That'll lead me into some other player I want to talk about who
yeah.
I would pick, but
So
I don't. I'm a little worried about Denver. That's all.
So what's his actual ADP like overall?
111.
So it's
12th.
10th round, 12th
10th, 11th round, depending on your scoring.
That's a little rich for my blood, to be totally honest. Just because I think in the 10th round you might be able to get, I don't know.
Okay, so guys currently going ahead. I'm not going to talk about Will's guy, but guys going ahead of him: Isaiah Spiller, Rashad Penny, Chase Edmonds, Michael Carter, James Robinson, Devin Singletary. Like, I'm taking Gordon over majority of those guys.
That's tough. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of guys in there that are kind of gross, but I think there's a couple in there that could hit and be.
There's a couple that could hit
on more of like a week-to-week basis, kind of. Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a couple there that could hit, but
he might be kind of annoying to own this year. That's what I think both of them might be. You know, you're like never one starts and everyone goes off or whatever.
Yeah. To me, I think at that position he's probably gonna be my RB3, RB4. And just as I said, to fill in on bye weeks, you're going to put him in, he's going to get you. He's not going to put up a dud. You don't have to worry about him putting up no points. Like, if you were to draft an Isaiah Spiller or a Michael Carter there, and they could have zeros legitimately, and I think Gordon prevents that high floor at that position. Jeff, what do you think of Melvin Gordon here?
I actually had both Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon last year. The one thing I can say about Melvin Gordon, he's going to be touchdown dependent, but I think he's going to be in a position to where he is going to be able to run in a lot of short yardage, get a lot of short yardage touchdowns. I think Williams is going to be used, at the further end of the field, but as soon as they get closer to that goal line, third downs and stuff, that's going to be Melvin Gordon time, and I think he's going to be one to plow it in. So I said all of that to say that I believe at that ADP, he's going to go ahead and basically be productive. If you've got him in there at an RB3, RB4, you'll be able to plug him in, and I think he'll be productive for your team. So
yeah.
I'm just sitting in the lobby here. If anybody's wondering what I'm doing,
I like the camera angles as you walked around. I think it was really great.
The Zach smiles to the people that are walking by.
Yeah. Zach, let's move on. Who is your next player you want to talk about?
Yep, guy I caught a lot of heat today. I guess I had him way too low. That's Aaron Jones, Green Bay Packers running back. RotoWire has him at 23 overall ADP. Man, that's solid. So especially if you look at it like you could start your draft, like if you have like the second pick in a 12-team league, you could theoretically start your team with what, like
Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey.
If you feel that bold to burn your first pick like that, that's fine. But let's say you want to start Najee and Aaron Jones. I think that's a solid way to shore up two running backs who are just guaranteed to be heavily involved in their offense. And then you can come back around and grab your wide receivers and or go running back robust, which everyone likes to do nowadays. But just the sheer target volume that's expected to go to Aaron Jones, even with sharing the backfield with A.J. Dillon. I guess I got to myself kind of reevaluate, but I could see a season where he's averaging seven catches a game just to make up for the absolute lack of talent that surrounds Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Aaron Jones was going to be one of my guys. And then I kind of had too many guys already, so I was like, oh, Zach's going to talk about him. I don't need to worry about bringing him up myself. Nice. But I was reading some things, listening to some other podcasts, and vacated targets, the Packers have a ton of vacated targets, and a lot of people think that the wide receivers and tight ends benefit most from that, but it's actually the running backs, as Zach's acting out over there. So this is going to work out very well for Aaron Jones. and he can split time with A.J. Dillon, but A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones can be on the field at the same time. They signed Aaron Jones to that big money contract, so I think they're going to be more than happy to use him as much as they need to. So to me, I like this pick. I think it's a great value. You could start off your draft with Christian McCaffrey, obviously at number 2. Wouldn't want to go another direction with that pick. Come back around, get Aaron Jones. And then you're sitting there looking great, 2-star running backs. You can either go with another running back because, maybe Christian McCaffrey gets hurt or whatever, but I think that's definitely a great way. Will, what do you think about Aaron Jones being a resident Packers hater of...
I think Zach's right. I think at least early in the season, his numbers are going to be very high. Mm-hmm. His average points per game the first 6 weeks, I bet you may be the number 1 running back because I think he's the safety blanket for Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Right? Why Aaron's trying to figure out the wide receivers and where he has to put the ball. I mean, we've seen Aaron, right? The Packers have started slow, even when they've had great seasons. They've started slow a couple times in the last few years. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're a little slow on the offensive side to start. And what does that mean? Shoot, that's running back dependency. And Jones is going to get both catches and probably running touchdowns. And I don't know if Dillon's the biggest threat to him. Maybe on goal line situations, short yardage. But Jones, he probably touches the ball 15 times, 15, 20 times a game. Combined between running and catching. So
I think it's the touchdowns too, just to kind of finish like with Aaron Jones. It's like you look at what Devontae Adams left behind in the touchdown totals as well too, and he himself is a goal line threat. So they got to figure out who's going to take that spot. Oh man, I think I lost you guys again.
Yeah, we can hear you, but you just can't see you.
I don't know what is going on.
But your audio sounds amazing, so just keep.
Your audio's great.
Is it really good?
Yeah, your audio's good. I'm not sure what exactly you're showing us, but your audio is.
What is that, Stonehenge or something?
Did you start sharing your screen or?
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, but I definitely agree. Last year he had 4 touchdowns on the ground, and I think that's a number that goes up. There you go. You're back.
I think it might be going again now.
Nope. Yep, you're gone again.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Jeff, any thoughts on Aaron Jones?
No, I mean, he's good. I believe he's going to get it's almost to me, if, what's the big leg guy name behind him?
A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon.
Earl Campbell.
If they're trying to move and trying to, give him the rock a little bit more, I think he's going to fall into that same Javonte, Melvin Gordon thing, man, because he vultured quite a few touchdowns from Aaron Jones last season. And Aaron Jones is getting a little bit older. One injury away from having a guy really step in. But that being said, if he were to fall to my lap, I still think he's a top 10 running back in the league. So, I probably just contradicted myself there.
Yep. Yeah, you definitely did. I think he's a top 10 back, but
but that's what I hate about guys like him and Javonte Williams in those positions. Because if things fall right, they could be in the top 10. If they have a guy come in and usurp them and start getting, just being touchdown vultures, man, hell, they can drop down to, RB 15 and you drafted him in the, one of your top picks.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I just wonder if Aaron Rodgers, if he's able to go, like, I trust this guy. This is the guy I want to go with more. Maybe that works for him. I don't know. But, it just depends on how things fall. Again, in the draft, there's a couple other guys I think I'd rather have just because I know they're going to be getting the ball a little bit more. But he's in a good spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited, especially PPR more so than just standard because it's really that reception upside that I think excites everyone about Aaron Jones. Anything else you want to add there, Zach, before we move on to Will's next guy?
Nope. I mean, just it's kind of like over.
Draft Aaron Jones.
Just seems like this year there's a lot of running back committees more than usual. I feel. I don't know.
Yeah. it's hard to find a bell cow, so you got to start looking for, the best of the 1As. And Aaron Jones, I expect to be that. But Will, let's talk about your next guy, who can be his 1A on his team as well as the wide receiver one on his team. Go ahead.
Yeah, so look, I'm a big Deebo Samuel fan. If they do a quarterback switch, I think he's going to be maybe a top 3 fantasy point producer. As long as he can stay healthy. I mean, that's always the caveat for every player, right? As long as they can stay healthy. But I think you're going to see the 49ers really use him as we saw him being used late in the season. And a whole season of that, yeah, I'll take that. And when I look at where he's at, he's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's the 7th wide receiver coming off the draft in the ADP right now. And he's in sleeper, he's 19. There's no way I'm taking Tyreek Hill over Deebo Samuel. Not doing it. Not doing it because until Miami proves they can use him right. And look, I don't know about. There's actually a good other talent on that field for Miami. That's going to eat into Tyreek's numbers. Diggs, I love Diggs, but I don't know. I mean, Diggs, he gets dinged up a little bit too. And so, I'm looking at Devontae Adams.
No Devontae Adams slander allowed on this show. Move on to the next wide receiver.
Right. Look, all I know is I don't see how Deebo Samuel is that far down.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there's a little bit of a question mark at quarterback, but he's multifunctional, right? Shoot, running back touches. So I just don't know. I mean, I think 19-20. If you have the first or second pick in the draft, and you get back to the tail end of round 2, start of round 3, and Deebo Samuels is there, it's a steal.
Yeah, you can start your draft off with Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, two of the most versatile players in the NFL. We got there. Great job, Will, with that one, and I agree. I'd take him over Tyreek Hill. Stephon Diggs might be pushing it a little bit for me, and I'd definitely rather have Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp. But I see the upside there. I love Deebo Samuel as well. I'm worried. Contract situation currently has me worried. And then after that contract situation gets figured out, the quarterback situation has me worried. Because if Trey Lance is starting, I think that negatively affects his value just in the passing aspect of things. I was high on Trey Lance coming out in college, but I think he will take some time to still get acclimated, even if he starts week 1. So that could lead off to a slow start for the whole 49ers. If Jimmy Garoppolo is playing, I'm not worried about Deebo Samuel's fantasy value at all. I think he's going to be a top wide receiver. Zach, what do you think about Deebo?
It's kind of been the same story for me with him as far as like the fact that he's not really a wide receiver as far as if you look at his stats from last year. And then, another guy that was kind of brought up today as far as me thinking or me having him too low is Elijah Mitchell. And I think him and Deebo kind of tie in together as far as one of them is going to cannibalize the other, I feel. So with Deebo, I think it's more of a risk. And I do agree with taking him over Tyreek Hill. And even that for me is like so close. Like that's a few spots in between. I agree exactly what you said, taking all those other guys ahead of him.
Yep.
So I guess after when you finally get past Adams, Diggs, all those other guys are going to be gone if you're looking at Deebo at this point. So, you're probably looking at what? Deebo, Tyreek Hill, and then who else would be the other person in that category you'd be looking at? I don't know, maybe like...
Yeah, so I was just quickly looking at Sleeper's projections here. These are not my projections, but they have Deebo projected for 69 receptions. To go and find a wide receiver based on ADP that's projected to get less than that, you have to go all the way down to DeAndre Hopkins, and that's only because he's going to miss 6 games. So I think that's definitely something that's going to worry fantasy owners when you have him on your team and you're looking at this and you get 3-4 receptions a game from your wide receiver 1. You're going to look at that and be like, damn, I don't know how fun this is going to be all season to have your wide receiver running more times than he's catching the ball.
But I think that is the problem. People don't know what to expect out of him this season. If he's saying he doesn't want to be utilized as a dual threat wide receiver, let's say, what else is, just as a receiver, how high do you draft him? That's my thing. If he's not going to be a guy that gets the ball in his hands, off of a pitch or, they run a specific run play for him, if he's saying he doesn't want to be that guy, how much do you rely on him as just a receiver? With the questions at quarterback, and now if they do go with Lance, you got a guy that is now maybe taking away those carries that Debo might usually get. So I am saying I might still look at taking Tyreek Hill because they just paid this dude a whole lot. They gave up a whole lot for him. They're going to force him the ball.
There goes Zach's mic again.
Exactly.
Hey, look, when I look at Sleeper's projections, they're saying Debo 10.6 a game. They have Tyreek at 9.4, Diggs at 9.4, and Adams at 9.4.
Yeah, it's hard to make those predictions, though, with a lot of question marks there.
Look, no problem with the mic.
If anyone thinks Derek Carr is going to get Devontae Adams.
No, Devontae Adams slander. Devontae Adams is.
It's not slander of Devontae Adams. It's slander of Derek Carr. Let's call this what it is.
Yes.
Right? Look, the Kaepernick thing, that wasn't a PR stunt. They are trying to figure out
who their backup quarterback's going to be.
Or who their starter may be.
No, they're just trying to do whatever they can to, get a good backup in there. They had Mariota last year. Mariota's not there anymore. I think they want a high-quality backup in case anything happens with Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is going to feed the ball to Devontae Adams. I'm not worried about Devontae Adams going over Deebo Samuel. And with the whole Deebo Samuel not wanting to run, I think Deebo Samuel will be quite fine running the ball as soon as the 49ers give him all the guaranteed money he wants. Because as soon as he has the guaranteed money, he'll do whatever. Because he's getting paid either way, whether he gets hurt or not. So I think he's going to be quite happy to run the ball. Jeff, who is your last guy you want to bring up here?
My last guy is a forgotten guy. At one time, he was one of the elite wide receivers in the game. I think he's got a lot to prove. And I think this season, if he's healthy, he might be able to prove it, and that's Michael Thomas. Getting a wide receiver, possibly one, at a wide receiver 4 or 5 value. He's fallen that far down in the drafts. And you've got a quarterback that likes to throw the ball. I don't know if Dennis Allen will let Winston throw the ball as much as he did when he was at Tampa Bay, but he does like to throw the ball. So I'm looking at Michael Thomas, man. I'm going to go ahead and wait for him to fall and try to grab him, run him as a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of more bullish on Michael Thomas before the team went out and signed Jarvis Landry and drafted Chris Olave. I thought Michael Thomas was going to have that upside. But you bring in Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry already having Alvin Kamara in the backfield. You got Adam Troutman. You got a plethora of weapons over there in New Orleans, and Michael Thomas is well. He's gonna be okay. You can have Taysom Hill starting at tight end. Either way, it's gonna be a guy who.
I forget you're in a tight end premium league, so you know all of the tight ends.
I know the tight ends. Don't you worry. But I think to me it's hard. A guy who hasn't played in so long, I think there's better options out there. He's currently going as a wide receiver 21, so a low-end wide receiver 2 in Sleeper. Can he return on that value? Absolutely. To me, he's an extremely high-risk player at that spot, though, because how well will he mesh with Jameis Winston's play style? We could see Jarvis Landry. He's going to get to practice with them all offseason as opposed to Michael Thomas. Maybe not. He might not be ready for training camps, whatever. I was high on Michael Thomas, but the Saints have made some moves to make me a little less high on Michael Thomas, especially with all the picks they traded away to get Chris Olave. It's hard for me, and also hating the Saints, even though I love Jameis Winston. It's tough. But Zach, what do you think about Michael Thomas here?
I think he's a steal, just like Jameis Winston on the at a crab shack. But no, it's very like plain. It's like simple with Michael Thomas. It's like he's either gonna be, return to form, or he's just gonna be a guy. And
Yeah.
if you're willing to, I don't know, I think I don't know if I heard the ADP, but
20. All right, wide receiver 20. Overall, I think he's 56.
56. So it's what's
Fifth, sixth round.
sixth round.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's not terrible as far as when you think about like where like the wide receiver depth. But your point is excellent with the Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry, when all three of those
And
guys
Adam Troutman.
and of course, who could forget old Troutman? But if you look at those three wide receivers, they kind of all play similar styles. They're just kind of like 10-yard and in. So
Yeah.
to see how they're all gonna kind of work together will be interesting. But it's Michael Thomas. So these guys, like these Antonio Browns, these guys that take time off from football, but they're so incredible at the sport. It's like,
Thank you.
I don't know, it's worth the gamble sometimes.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that I'm looking at. You've got Olave, still unproven, although he was great, in college. And then you've got Jarvis Landry, tough guy, but often injured, and now he's getting older. So I'm kind of looking at those things. If Michael Thomas is back to full strength, if he's able to get that, I'll just say lower extremity, lower leg area, that ankle, whatever it is, if it's back, and he's hungry, I don't know. I'm just one of those guys, I'm willing to take a chance if I can get him later. That's why I usually end up in first or second or 12th.
Facts.
Yeah. But you gotta go boom or bust sometimes.
Yeah, that's it.
You got a guy who, as Zach said, these three guys that we've been talking about kind of all have the same play style. And then you look at the other wide receivers, Marquez Callaway, Jeff's guy from last season, who does not play that same style. He is that deep threat.
Right.
So maybe he ends up being the guy that, has the bigger weeks in that offense because he is the one that has those different play style. And Jameis Winston, with Sean Payton not there anymore, can their OC keep Jameis Winston in check? Probably not. Jameis Winston's probably going to go out there and toss the ball as far as he wants to, throw as many interceptions as his heart desires, and throw so many deep passes out there to Marquez Callaway. If Sean Payton was there, I think this is a completely different conversation. I'd have way more confidence in the offense. Sean Payton's not there anymore. I'm worried about the Saints. I love Kamara. I'm worried about Kamara going forward. So, we'll see. Will, what do you think? Michael Thomas.
Look, I keep saying I don't like when you start to see a guy go over the cliff or as close to the cliff. It's too big of a risk, especially when I look at sleepers. What's in that space right now of ADP?
Yep.
It's Waddle in Miami. It's Goodwin in Tampa Bay. It's Michael Pittman.
Yes, sir.
In Indianapolis. It's Cortland Sutton in Denver. Right? And then it's Allen Robinson with the Rams.
I'm taking every single one of those.
Yes.
I'm taking Marquise Brown over Michael Thomas right now.
Yeah.
And he's behind him too.
And that could bite me. Could come back. Like Jeff takes him in the 5th round and he gets a wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the Saints are it's just it could be a transition year for them. I mean, look, it feels like a transition year for the franchise. So I think you just have to sit and watch and see what happens. The preseason's going to be so important for a lot of teams, especially for fantasy football. You try to get a feel what Denver's doing, what Green Bay's doing, what the Saints are going to do. I mean, it's going to affect that draft a lot this year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I'm staying away from Michael Thomas currently at his ADP because, as Will said, I'm taking all those guys we listed over top of him right now. Bring back Sean Payton, take away Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry, and I'm taking Michael Thomas where he is. But with all those additions and the subtraction of Sean Payton, I don't think I'm going to find him on too many of my teams. But let's move on to my next wide receiver I'm going to talk about here, and I'm going to talk about a guy who's coming off of an ACL injury. The wide receiver 1 in the Tennessee Titans' new offense. I'm going to be talking about Robert Woods, currently going at wide receiver 45. He's finished top 14 wide receivers 3 years before his injury. Do I expect him to finish as a top 14 wide receiver? Absolutely not. Burks, he's going to be a really good wide receiver, but will he have that immediate impact to be able to be a dominant wide receiver 1 in this offense? I don't think so. I think he can be competitive, and I think he'll definitely, I don't think Woods is just going to come out here and absolutely dominate the target share, but I'm not going to be surprised if they kind of split for the lead of that target share in that offense. With Derrick Henry back, I think Robert Woods will be great in a play action system. He's a really good route runner, and as long as his injury does heal properly, I think he's going to thrive. Currently, his ADP is at 99, which is the wide receiver 45. You take a guy who's proven he can do it before, bring him into an offense that really has no wide receiver 1 anymore. They don't have a running back to absorb all these targets that have been left behind by A.J. Brown and Anthony Ferguson. They bring in Austin Hooper as well. He will take some targets, but I'm not super worried about that. So to me, I think Robert Woods is a steal at wide receiver 45, currently going in the 9th, 10th round. I don't think you can get a much better value. Zach, what do you think?
This one's tough. I'm not a big Robert Woods fan on Tennessee in their playing style, because this guy's never been like a high touchdown player. So you're essentially just kind of hoping on the volume will be there, which I can't see that happening. I do think Treylon Burks is the wide receiver 1 there. I think he's got a like Jamar Chase like knockoff brand version of a rookie season coming, and Derrick Henry plays the full season. He's their whole offense. And he's coming off the injury at 30 years old. So a lot of things working against Robert Woods. But at the same time, there's something special about him. Like Cooper Kupp, attributes him to being like the reason why he's so good at playing wide receiver position. So there's something about Robert Woods,
Yeah, just quickly before we ask Will what his thoughts are, guys going after him, or going before him, I guess you could say. Going before him, so currently Gabriel Davis, Bateman, Olave, Ayuk. You get into, Elijah Moore, Tyler Lockett, Devonta Smith, Juju, Renfro, Bateman. You're not in a super high tier of wide receivers there. And to me, I think Robert Woods has a chance to outperform that for sure. And getting him in that 9th, 10th round, he's not going to be, a guy. He's kind of, to me, I view him the same way as I view Melvin Gordon. He's going to be a guy that you're going to be able to have on your bench all season and plug and play him when you need him to. And this is kind of, I'm looking for depth piece. I'm not looking for a guy who's going to come out here and be a wide receiver 1. I'm looking for, in Robert Woods, I think he's going to be a guy. Maybe you went a little riskier with your first couple wide receivers. You pair him with another wide receiver with a high ceiling on the bench. And I think that kind of evens out your roster. It comes down to your roster, how you build your roster. But I like Robert Woods here. Will, what do you think about Robert Woods? I saw you were agreeing with me earlier. What are your thoughts?
I think that could be really good value. We'll see how Tennessee has a lot of questions. Everybody has question marks, it seems, this year. And Woods, you're just a little leery coming off that injury. Like, how's he going to respond? And that's a lot of pressure on the rookie to be the wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
I know the last couple of years the trend has been wide receivers coming in and performing as rookies, which wasn't 5 years ago. That wasn't the case, right? So, but I just think it's a lot of pressure in Tannehill to go.
Right. It's more so the team as far as Robert Woods, not so much him. It's just he has things working against him, and then plug him in there. But like you say, if it's like 9th, 10th round. That's what you're saying.
I think he'll have the targets in PPR to make up for that.
That's a comfortable guy to have as a depth piece.
Yeah, high floor guy. Yeah. He's gonna have that low ceiling, but he's got that high floor. Jeff, you agree with everything that's been said, pretty much?
I do. But the thing is, you don't know who the wide receiver 1 is. I think a lot of people are putting a lot on Burks. I don't want to slander, or say anything against Arkansas, but it's Arkansas, not Clemson, not LSU. It's Arkansas. I can't remember the last great wide receiver to come out of Arkansas. Maybe you guys can correct me. I don't know. But anyway, Robert Woods is one of the best route runners in the league. And even though he's never been a speed guy or anything like that, that's why the injury doesn't bother me as much. So I think he actually might be a help for Tannehill to actually give him a receiver that's going to run good routes. So, that's why I think he will probably end up being the wide receiver one rather than Burks. So I think
Jeff, just gonna, just pulled up Razorbacks wire, so an Arkansas website. We got Kobe Hamilton as the best Arkansas wide receiver since 2000, followed closely by Jarius Wright, and then Greg Childs and Marcus Monk, and then they already have Treylon Burks on this list at 5. So that tells you all you need to know about Arkansas wide receivers so far.
Exactly.
The disrespect to Arkansas. Those poor Razorbacks.
That's just I think
Darren McFadden.
I think Burks can be something. Will he be able to sustain, the high wide receiver, be the wide receiver one on the Titans and get that target share? I'm not quite sure this is going to be his year. Can he in the future? Yes. Obviously, the Titans believe in him because they traded him away for A.J. Brown.
Right. He's just their A.J. Brown replacement. Just plug and play.
But he's not as good as A.J. Brown.
No.
And to me,
but he's cheaper.
He is cheaper.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
But I think when I'm looking at projecting Robert Woods, I think you look at the Corey Davis of his last year in Tennessee. I think you give him that kind of a target share, those kind of targets with Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and I think that's going to return value on his current ADP. I'm not projecting him to go out there and be A.J. Brown. I'm projecting him to go out there and be Corey Davis, and I think that's a very manageable thing for Robert Woods to do, is to go out there and be Corey Davis. But, Zach, let's move on to your next guy. Who are you going to talk about here?
Yep, mine's not as deep, but at the same time, it's, I think, still a tremendous value in a great way. When we talk team building in the early rounds, when you're really trying to build the foundation, the pillars of your team, you want guys that are just going to put up stats. And who's put up better numbers since entering the league than wide receiver Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? 1,000 yards every single season he steps on the field, and has missed about 3 games in his entire career. We talk about Tom Brady repeating again as a top 3 quarterback. No Chris Godwin, no Gronk, no Antonio Brown, no Ronald Jones for whatever reason. That was an argument today I heard. But, Mike Evans, I think it was, 32? I think I said it over to you. Was his. So, I mean, that's 3rd round pick. If that's you go running back, and your wide receiver 1 is Mike Evans, that's a pretty solid way to start your draft. Like I said, build the pillars of your team, and then take Zach's route. And then when you start getting into those later rounds, look for those like solid pieces that you can kind of fill in, kind of round out the team. But like I was mentioning earlier with Aaron Jones, I just like when you can like start your roster with values off the rip, So in getting your wide receiver 1 with a guy that's almost guaranteed 1,000 yards and back-to-back seasons of 13 plus touchdowns. I think you pair Mike Evans with Robert Woods. That way, when Mike Evans plays the Saints 2 times this year, you can plug Robert Woods right in there, throw Mike Evans on the bench, and then other than that, you can start Mike Evans every week in, week out, because he only sucks against Marshawn Lattimore. And Chris Godwin will be slow to come back, so I think Mike Evans is going to be by far the number 1 target on the offense. Leonard Fournette may have as many targets, but they're not going to be as valuable targets because Mike Evans are going to be downfield, as opposed to Leonard Fournette's targets all coming out of the backfield. But yeah, I like this value here. And like I said, unless he's playing New Orleans, you're going to be starting him every week. I was just quickly looking while you're doing that. He has a total of 12 catches over the past 3 years in 6 games against New Orleans. So if you draft Mike Evans, do not play him against New Orleans. That's the only thing. Don't touch him if he's playing New Orleans. But other than that, he's a great wide receiver. He'll get his 1,000 yards, as Zach said. He's going to get his touchdowns from Tom Brady, especially if Gronk doesn't come back. Right. He's going to be the number 1 red zone threat on that offense.
him and Leonard Fournette on the ground. You're going to have Leonard Fournette on the ground, but in the air, it's going to be Mike Evans if Gronk doesn't come back. So I like this pick, and it goes very well with my Tom Brady pick from earlier. Will, what do you think about Mike Evans?
It's interesting when you look at the ADP of the wide receivers. There's Mike Evans and Keenan Allen and A.J. Brown. And I think the jury's a little bit out on A.J. Brown, but Mike Evans and Keenan Allen sitting there at the end of 2, the start of 3. Wow. I'm
taking Evans over Keenan Allen for sure.
That's just – there's good value, right? If these ADPs are kind of symbolic of what's going to happen when you draft, there's going to be great wide receivers sitting at the end of 2, start around 3, and into round 3 that, as Zach was saying, can actually be really good pillars of your team for the whole season.
Right.
Yeah, that to me, you look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb. Would you rather have Mike Evans or CeeDee Lamb? And if I'm building my team right now, I'm probably going to rather have Mike Evans. For this season.
They're close in 80. No,
I think Mike Evans was 8 picks behind CeeDee Lamb. But I think I'd rather have Mike Evans.
I was going to say, I think CeeDee Lamb's going to go.
I think he's going to have a great season.
A lot earlier than Mike Evans.
He's going to go a lot earlier than Mike Evans.
Most drafts you'll see CeeDee Lamb.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Every Cowboy fan's going to make him a top 10 pick.
And I also believe I believe Evans is the cutoff of feeling confident in your wide receiver 1. In my opinion. After that, like you said, you Keenan Allen, and then that's it. And you start.
Yeah, Keenan Allen to Mike Evans is pretty much it. I'm not confident rolling A.J. Brown as my wide receiver 1. Right. And he's going ahead of those 2. But when you get to Deontay Johnson, T. Higgins, Terry McLaurin, I don't want, if I go running back heavy and I have 3 really good running backs, then okay, I'm fine with one of those guys as my wide receiver 1. But if you start getting into that, you've 1, 2 running backs, and then you need a wide receiver 1. If you're not getting Mike Evans, you're going to be in for a rough season at the wide receiver position because he really is a really high floor. He's going to get the targets. The touchdowns are going to be there if Gronk's not there. Even if he is there, he's still going to get his touchdowns. And Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time. Unlike Will, I will not bet against Tom Brady. I'm not going to say the decline is coming because the decline will never come for Tom Brady. But I like it. Jeff, what do you think?
I mean, he's a safe pick. He always is, and he always produces. I don't know. I do kind of see. I'm like, only because I guess I'm one of those guys that still remembers the Seahawks getting beat by the the Patriots. That I want to see Tom Brady fall sooner or later. And this is the year. This is the year, dog.
Yeah.
I think as long as Tom Brady is his quarterback, Mike Evans is going to finish very high, and that is going to be a very, very solid pick. If you can get him, right around that ADP, I love it. I think Zach's on to something there. So,
thanks, man.
That's about it.
Will bring up your last player. And then I'm just going to quickly bring someone else up before we close off the show. But Will,
I'm going to call this right now. I think this is the steal. And look at the ADP.
According to your ADP, this is the steal of the draft. According to Sleeper's ADP,
it's
maybe.
Steal. Even with steal,
maybe.
RotoWire said 154.
Sleeper's got him at 107.
108, right?
108.
I'm telling everybody, you better get on that James Cook train in Buffalo.
Hey.
If you can get James Cook in the 5th or 6th round, you have a potential this year to be an RB2. And if he's sitting there in the 10th round, the 8th, 9th, 10th, all the way to the bottom, and he's still sitting on your draft board, you have to ask yourself why you're not taking him. He is going to be the starting running back in Buffalo by midseason. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I think he could be for sure. And you said he's a value if he's going 154 in these wherever RotoWire is pulling these numbers from, I got to get me in some of those leagues because getting him in the 15th, 14th, 15th round, that's crazy.
Look, Chase Edmonds, even in Sleeper, Chase Edmonds going in front of him. Penny, Tony Pollard, who's not even starting. Now I like Tony Pollard.
Oh, but
Cordell Patterson is going before
Yeah, that Cordell Patterson guy's garbage. So why would you ever draft him?
Devin Singletary is going before James Cook.
Mm.
And if you watch James Cook play at all, he is the perfect running back for Buffalo, by far. He's not injury prone. He has good hands. He can run well between both the outside and in between the tackles. I mean, if there was a guy that, and I think Buffalo knew this, right? That's why Buffalo didn't draft a running back higher. I think they knew all along, this is the guy we want. We can get him lower in the draft. And so I'm just saying, I'm going to call it. He's the fantasy rookie of the year. I'm going to call it now. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. He is the fantasy rookie of the year, and I think he puts up very good numbers, and he will deliver championships for people who draft him in mid to late rounds.
Yeah, I can see it.
I'm not
quite that bullish on James Cook, but I can definitely see the path of that happening because he's on one of the best offenses in the league. Will just said that he's not injury prone, so James Cook is going to go down with an injury before preseason. And it's just gonna
right before week 1 in practice is what they drafted.
There you go. Achilles injury, he's done for. You count him out of everything. But yeah, if that doesn't happen, I think James Cook is going to be good. I am also convinced Will just really likes the name Cook, and he just really likes to say Cook all the time because he decided to bring up Dalvin and James Cook. But Zach, what do you think about James Cook this season?
Sorry, a little cough here. I think it's more so in a perfect world we would want James Cook to be. Sorry, guys. Quick water break. That the whole.
Will come in too much heat, making.
Oh, that's a spicy meatball. All right, but listen, the thing about James Cook, it's a perfect world. Me, you are on the same page. Will, if I were running the Buffalo Bills organization, I'd have James Cook as my starting running back to compete with all the other crazy AFC teams. I don't think Devin Singletary is really giving you an edge, but at the same time, his end of season stats kind of show otherwise. He actually finished the season, relatively well, and Zach Moss was kind of he was just a guy. Yeah. And so now you got 3 running backs there, but over time, Cook for sure is definitely gonna be something special, which sucks because now I got to play against him twice a year. But yeah, and then I think the Buffalo Bills have the most brothers on one team, right? With Diggs and Cook now having one of the superstar brothers on their team. So we'll have to fact check that one. But just thought about that.
And Jeff, what do you think about James Cook?
Oh, did we lose somebody? Was it me?
What?
Hello, we can hear you.
We can hear you, and we lost no one but you.
No.
Well, I think we lost Jeff. I don't think Keela. Okay. What?
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyways, Jeff was about to say that he absolutely disagrees with Will, and he thinks Will is the stupidest person alive, and Will should never give fantasy football advice ever again. Right, Jeff? That's what you're thinking?
That's probably good.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It was so bad, it made my internet fail. That's how bad it was.
Oh, shit.
I forgot what I was going to say. Forget it, guys.
Okay. I'm just going to quickly, before we end the show tonight, I'm going to bring up another guy. No one showed any love to the tight end position. If you're trying to wait on your tight ends here, you can't leave your draft without Dalton Schultz. I've seen him falling way later in drafts than he should, currently going as the tight end 7 off the board. Finished last year as the tight end 3, and Amari Cooper is no longer there. Gallup's going to be slow to start the season. Whether or not he actually plays to start the season, who knows? Dalton Schultz is going to be a target machine. If you're looking for a later round, he's not super late round. He's a mid-round tight end. But at tight end 7, I think you're going to get a good return on your investment there. Any last thoughts to end the show before we say goodbye for tonight?
I'm just ready, man. I'm ready to do some mock drafting. I'm ready to look at doing some real drafting here. I'm ready to get the season going.
Football!
There you go.
Yeah, I think I'm ready for Tua to be benched by Halloween for Teddy Bridgewater, and my soul is crushed. So yeah, let's bring on the season.
Well,
but Tua's been throwing. He throws the best deep ball Tyreek Hill's ever seen. So you're good to go.
At least you know who's starting. Let's just say that.
I mean, oh my
and
goodness.
Kirk Cousins looks better every day.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I had Kirk Cousins starting on my team.
Right.
Jeez.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, let's end the show there. I want to thank you guys for joining. Next week, I'm thinking we should do a mock draft after talking about these guys.
Yes.
I think that's going to be a good show to do. We've done a couple on Seven's show, so we're definitely going to want to do one here. The four of us, hopefully we can all make it back for next week. We'll do a mock draft. We'll see how many of us actually end up with these guys that we like at these ADPs, and we'll see who actually goes a different direction. I hope everyone enjoyed the show.
Tight end heavy, right?
Tight ends are going high this year. Tight ends are going high this year. But maybe we'll do I'll just put in the scoring and only tell myself that 5 points for every tight end reception or something like that, and you guys won't notice. And then I'll just go tight ends for all my flex and be like, what are you guys doing? But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you guys for joining. We'll be back next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Yes, sir.